to the Kennedy Events Podcast, where we feature top marketing, communications, and future of work leaders and share their biggest takeaways and insights. We love these conversations and hope you will too. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Kennedy Events Podcast. I'm your host, Paige Buck. Past guests include Pam Perez of the Chase Center, Sarah Razavi of Working Solutions, and Elaine Honig of Studio 440. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Tommy Halvorson, founder and CEO of Hospitality Group, encompassing 4 brands: Foxtail Catering and Events, Radish, which he co-founded with his COO, Tonic Beverage Catering, and Greenheart Foods. Among these brands, they currently design and produce more than 300 events per year, produce and deliver nearly 10,000 meals per week with their food service management program, manage beverage service for large-scale festivals, and operate a highly regarded product line. Before we dive in, today's episode is brought to you by Kennedy Events. Kennedy Events produces stress-free conferences and events, providing expert management and design for all your corporate event needs, from in-person to hybrid and virtual. And you can learn more about us at kennedyevents.com. Hi, Tommy. Thanks for being with me today.
How's it going?
Going great. I am so excited to talk with you because we admire your companies and what you have built so much. And I am actually delighted to be learning this for the first time. I want to hear how you got started in this industry and how you built what you now have in these 4 tremendous brands.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, first of all. We love working with y'all as well. So there's that.
Mutual Admiration Society.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. One thing I should mention. So the hospitality group is called the Fire Society.
It's fast.
I did not put that in the thing because I've always been a little embarrassed of. That's what I named it in 2008 when I founded it, and I had just graduated from Berkeley in 2000. Graduated in Berkeley in 2008. Started the business in 2009. Part of my degree was sociology, and so I was very focused on this thing, and fire was the thing that was going to bring us all together through cooking. I'm not sure if it's cool or not, so I'm always kind of it's not the Fire Society, but it is kind of cool. So that's what it's called, and that is what encompasses all those brands.
Okay, I'm going to bring you back to that because I think that is so cool, and I want it. I want to invite you to embrace that. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I wrote a manifesto and everything. Pretty cool, actually. That's anyway. So I started the business in 2009 as an underground restaurant called the Phoenix Supper Club. This was all during the food truck revolution, and all of this underground stuff was happening. I was working as a sous chef after I had graduated from Berkeley, as working as a sous chef at a catering company, and learned all about the logistics of how to build kitchens in weird places, and do really nice food out of hot boxes and on cassettes and things like that. And so I just wanted to do something a little more interesting. And so I started doing this underground supper club where we would have 2 secret locations. We would meet you in one location with the limo. We'd bring you to the other location where we'd have live music and 9 courses. And we do it for 20 or 25 people. I had no idea what I was doing. I'd never even had a 9-course meal before, but that's what I was going to do because that's what they did at the Laundry, which I was thinking that was the epitome.
Mm-hmm.
So it was awesome. Lost a tremendous amount of money doing it because you can't make money doing that kind of thing. But we did it at a high enough level to where the guests that were there started hiring us to do catering. Those are the thing I said I would never do. I did immediately because I had to keep the lights on. And so started doing catering. I was really dying for consistency within the business. So we got a couple daily catering contracts with some startups at the time. This is starting around 2010 when that was happening. That started to go really well. We were doing all of this as the Phoenix Supper Club, which is really hard to sell catering services as an underground restaurant. So I rebranded in 2011 to Foxtail Catering. 2012, we really started to grow, really get some good consistent business. So that's when we moved into our facility that we have now, which means that's when I rented a space and started to design a kitchen, where we moved in 2013.
So
at
now
that
you've got
point, we,
serious overhead and you have that
yeah,
forces you to grow more.
yeah. I mean, that was the first is funny because like we were doing like a huge month in 2013, 2012 would have been like $100,000 a month. And then when we moved into the facility, and we would make like 20% on the bottom line or something. I was doing like, a big chunk of the work myself. And then we moved into our new kitchen. I remember being like, wow, that's not even enough to like cover the basics. It's like used to make this a margin on this amount of revenue. And now it's like I have to do triple the amount to make the same amount on the bottom, and that was, I mean, I kind of knew that was going to happen, but it was really terrifying when it did happen. But it also gave us our own kitchen. We moved out of a commissary, moved into our own space, and that really kind of gave us like some kind of credibility, the first step of credibility. And at that same time, we diversified Foxtail from Foxtail being a catering company that does everything. We broke off a brand called 415 that did like the daily dining stuff. And then we acquired a brand called Living Room Events. That was a high-end wedding brand because I could not break into the high-end wedding clique. And so we just acquired a brand that was already there, that allowed us to kind of get into the high-end weddings. And yeah, from there, it just kind of like, I got a lot of great team members. And we just grew from that the kitchen we moved into was our whole world. It was like 4,000 square feet, had our offices, our tasting room, and our kitchen. And now, because of the building we moved into, we were able to expand on that and gobble up suites on either side of us. And so now we have about 20,000 square feet. What was our kitchen and our offices and our storage is now just our kitchen. And that's actually getting bigger.
Wow.
Built our offices separately, and we have all this crazy warehouse storage and everything. So, yeah, so it went from me on a 6-foot table in 2009, with my now wife helping part-time, and my longtime collaborator, Rhonda, who you guys probably know. She was also sitting with me on a milk crate in the attic space, like, burning the midnight oil trying to get this going. So the three of us were like the OGs. And then in 2011, my current COO joined, who he and I had actually worked together at a restaurant before in 2008. He had just graduated from Stanford and I just graduated from Berkeley. And I was moonlighting as a line cook while I was a sous chef at this other catering company. And he and I would like have philosophical debates while we were working in this restaurant, which is pretty fun. Then he moved to New York and did some cool stuff. And then he came back and he joined and he started running the kitchen, and I started doing more of the business development. And then that's really kind of the thing. And Rhonda was like crushing all the events, and Bryn was holding down all the paperwork. And so the four of us were the ones that like really took it to the next level. And then Allie Grubb joined us in 2013. She's the one who's really taken the design element, which I think is something we're known for now, like to the next level. And they're all partners now. So
Amazing.
but,
And I think, if people haven't experienced an event that you have produced or catered and experienced your food, or remember that they've experienced your food, they would remember the beautiful visual displays and attention to the visual experience as much as you would like be likely to comment on the quality of the food. It's something you really stand out for in the region.
Yeah, we're really, really excited about that. It took a while for us to kind of figure out like how we would differentiate ourselves from everybody else, because once you get to a certain level within catering, like we can all do the same thing. Like there's like probably 5 companies at the top, maybe even 10, I'm not sure, but we'll just say 5. And if you hire any one of these companies to do your event, they're all going to do a good job, like full stop. Most of them have been doing events as long as I've been alive, which I think is hysterical. But also mad respect, because it's not easy. And so we were like, okay, so if we're looking at proposals from all of us and everybody knows we're all going to do a good job, how do we separate ourselves? And we just, for us, it's the design. Our food is spectacular. We spend a lot of time with our on-site staff, like doing training and all this. But events are very visual, and the food stations that we build and the aesthetic that we either tie into or the one that we create is a big deal. And that's like we're pretty excited and proud about what we're able to do with that.
Yeah, I think of it whenever we've worked together as you're like a huge add-on. If there's a very strong visual theme already or a stated event theme, then you're like the keystone of it, especially because everyone experiences the food, and often like the bar or the food station is at the heart of the event. Or if it's a
Hmm.
banquet, then certainly it's a significant part of the experience. So I am curious, among like those years of growth and struggle and Midnight Oil over the milk crate, what are some of your proudest moments or projects that you've gotten to build?
Um, well, so from the underground side of things, this was like the first kind of thing that came to mind. So I used to be like really involved in all of the events and all the food, and I wanted to like do some designy stuff and all that, and people that are better at it than me that are part of the team now. But the last event that I was really part of was this that I was really like was mine. Um, in 2012, it was right before we moved into our kitchen. It was early 2013, and we did this event. It's underground, and it was a color spectrum, and basically like designed this. So the menu, like every course was a different color, but it
Hmm.
wasn't like I'm going to put yellow food dye in this and make it yellow, or I'm going to use something out of season because I need it for this color. Like I didn't do any of that. I just did it properly. Um, and so every course was like a color through the spectrum, which was great. But the space itself also changed color with every course that came out. So we did this whole like cool light thing that was happening. So it would like transition through, and it was like paired with music. We had a DJ, and then we had this like when we got to the black course, like everything like went black, and then it kind of came back up with like a live performance that was like super cool. Um, and it just the way it came together was exactly the way that I wanted it to, and I was like really stoked on that. And this is a decade ago.
Yeah.
I'd be really interested to see what we would be able to do now with like all the skills that we have and resources, because we had like not nearly the resources in that we do now or the knowledge. Um, so that is that was my like for me personally for the business. There's a couple actually that really stand out. On the event side of things, uh there have been so many events over the last 10 years I've been really excited about, but I think that the one that I'm the most psyched on right now is actually one that we did in December for a few reasons.
Hmm.
um One, it was for a head count of initially 5,000 people, but it dropped, as things have post COVID. So I think it wound up being like a little north of 4, a little south of 4. It was a big event. Um, and we got brought in by an event production company, and uh, there were like 17 different food stations or something like that,
Yeah.
plus the
Massive.
bars. And we designed like the event itself had a theme, and we were tasked with not only pairing the menu to the theme but also doing the station design to match the theme through the bars and all the food stations. And uh I was out on paternity leave. Like I had a week-old baby in my arms at this point. So I had nothing to do with this event at all except knowing that it was happening.
Hmm.
um and my team just shattered it. Like just I would usually drop a bunch of F-bombs right now, but they just crushed it. And like the stations that they designed, that Ali was in charge of, and executed. Because sometimes it's like fashion over function, which is something that it irritates me, but like it was really put together really well. And it was really next level what was accomplished. And client was super happy, the production company was super happy, the end client was super happy. And it was just done at like the highest level.
Mm.
It's like these are the events that in like 2013 I was like, how do we get those kind of events? And now here we are, not only getting them but doing them on a really really high level, and that was really exciting to see, especially because I didn't have to be there.
Right. And
um
see that they can
you
do
know
it without you.
yeah, I mean, and they've been doing it without me for a while. I mean, but just like not even physically having to be present, like in the pre-production meetings and making sure the details are covered, or did you think about this, or did you think about that, or did you think about, it's like all that stuff was covered. We had like 200 staff on site. They broke it down the way that I wanted it, that I would have had them break it down if I was the one in charge of it.
Mhm.
the team just really, really, really did a really good job on that. And so that was really exciting.
That's an incredible moment. And what a lovely like pinnacle after, 2 years of slogging through it, at least.
Yeah, I mean that's a thing too, because like we tried really hard to keep the team intact. Our company has about 60, 65 full-time employees now, which is about what it
Wow.
had pre-pandemic. Yeah, and I mean, this is from our, I mean, full-time benefited,
Yeah.
40 hours a week, jobs that from our cooks to our dishwashers and our planners and warehouse and like all of that. Um, and during the pandemic that we were about that size before, um, and we used to have work, but we really tried to, we kept about 15 people on full time, and the work that they did helped generate enough work for us to get some of our hourly folks back in. And so we generated, I want to say like 30 or 40,000 hours of work during the pandemic, like literally putting stuff in boxes. Because we moved into this whole like shipping thing,
Oh,
which I think we
yes.
did with you guys. And
And you were
yeah, I
filling
mean,
a desperate need for something everybody wanted in virtual events and that were incredibly hard to execute on.
yeah, yeah, and my team did that. Like, my wife and I were like buried in, the financials and the paperwork of getting all the grants and all that kind of stuff to keep
Oh,
things
yeah.
going. And then obviously I was like keeping the team intact. We were doing bi-weekly, or we were doing 2 meetings a week, just team meetings, just to like keep everybody,
Yep.
cohesive. And meanwhile, our team was developing this whole box game, which we had lots of conversation, lots of fights about actually. But it wound up, it worked, and it really served a really good purpose. Um, to get work for our team. And so when we actually had work, that when it started to come back last April, we were able to get back 90% of the people that we had to let go. And now, and some of these people are, been with us from like, not always, not the beginning, but some of them were with us in the commissary. So to get them back in, and then we were able to, adjust compensation so that it's really good for everybody. And I think that's really, we heard a lot about companies in the beginning when work was coming back, like really, really struggling with staffing. And we just didn't, because we had our team, and that's, getting through this last December with, my wife and I out, it has a lot to do. It has everything to do with the people that are there. So, that's why it's like, yes, this pinnacle, this huge event, everybody came together, crushed it. It's not just the designers, it's not just the planners, it's not just the on-site staff, it's the warehouse, and it's the cooks and the kitchens, everybody.
It is everybody.
So
That's amazing.
yeah, super rad.
As you've been talking, I've been reminded of a feeling I've long held about caterers, that it's like logistically you have the skills to make something happen, to like build something, execute, problem solve for it in a way I would only trust like a SEAL team or some like military executionist. And then at the same time, as you were describing how you were building your business, I was thinking, there must be something about a chef that is like a musician, where you also have that mathematician's mind of like how to make the numbers work to bring something together, even if you have to adjust and adapt over time. But you and I were talking before we were rolling about wishing that folks perceived caterers and food and beverage the way they do other trusted service providers. But what it would mean to be, and what, like with some of your clients, it might mean to be a trusted resource. And so like, tell me a little bit about your dream for these brands, and how you want your clients to come to think of Foxtail and the other brand, the broader Fire Society. Did I get
Well,
that right? Your
yeah, that's
manifesto
right.
brand. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, um, yeah, I mean, it's so challenging because like you at the end of the day, we're contractors, right? Like that's what we are. We have resources. You hire us to do a job, we do the job, and then that's the end of the job. And when you start to grow a catering company, like it's really hard to predict how much business you're going to be doing. You don't know if you're going to be doing none, or if you're going to have too much come in and you're going to try to overreach and you're going to mess up, like it's really hard to kind of like balance that. And so what we've tried to do is build consistency, which is the thing that I've been singularly focused on, like from literally the beginning. Because you can't invest in infrastructure, you can't invest in people, you can't invest in training, it's really hard to do if you don't know how much business you're going to do. And so what my ideal would be for the people that hire us, the companies that hire us, to look at us and look at the depth of resources that we bring to the table, and not just an also do, but like a fully fleshed out program that we have. We've got the fully fleshed out events program with Foxtail that's super high level. We have the fully fleshed out corporate cafeteria management program with Radish. We have the fully fleshed out beverage program. And then we also have, Greenheart, which is a really cool retail brand. But it's all of these resources that we have that are all executed at a really high level. And it's like, look at what we can do. Now, if we can just get to a place where we don't have to like bid on every single little thing that you've got coming on, and we can just establish like a partnership where we trust each other, and that can help us predict more about what kind of business we're going to be doing over the next year. Like if we know that this company has like 6 events that we're going to do with them over the course of the next year, then we can put a pin in it, put the resources there, know that it's there, be able to know that revenue is happening, know what kind of resources we're going to need, and allocate them to that specific thing. And it would be so much more proactive than like the reactive nature of this industry of like, we're doing an event, it used to be in 3 months and now it's in 3 weeks. Can you pull this together? And it's like, yeah, but man, wouldn't it be great if we could have just, if we knew this, if this was on a calendar and it was predicted, we're trying to establish these relationships with places who have like an 18-month calendar. So at least we know like something is happening, and not maybe specifically what, on the event side of things. So that it's like, you can stop chewing your nails and wondering what's going to happen. It used to be the case that, pre-pandemic, we were like, we knew like next quarter kind of what was going to happen. And even in early 2020, our December for 2020 was booked. Now, granted, all that went away, but that was
the same.
That was pretty exciting to be like, we're 10 months out from December and like it's locked down, like that was awesome. Or like 80%, so if we could just have relationships that were more proactive, and less like we need you to bid on this against 3 other people to make sure pricing stays in line. Can we just trust that this is just what it is? And yes, we're going to make money. It's going to happen because we're a business, have to, but it's going to be fair. It's all explainable. That would be awesome. One of the ways that we've combated that is with our, the kind of, to go back to one of the other questions you'd asked, which is, your most exciting moments in our Radish brand. Like, this is the way that we have helped build a platform underneath the events program, because that's a consistent, those are contract based, that's consistent work.
It's recurring revenue coming in every month at a consistent rate. Yeah.
On an annual basis, right? So like a lot of them are year-long contracts that you're going to be doing this for this duration of time, and then there's cancellation clauses, but you've got like 90 days to plan. So your staff, you can try and reallocate. It's not just it makes sense. Like the way business should be.
But and then you think, what was I thinking getting into a business? As you're saying this, I'm like, why am I running a business that is project based? Because that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. But then the business challenge of a project based thing that has a beginning, middle, and damn it, an end, has unique challenges. But
and you have to have a massive amount of infrastructure to be able to achieve those, to do the type of projects that you want to do and that you're getting,
So there's like the business dream of like, oh, wouldn't that be less pressure, less stress, more ability to forecast and feel confident in the bottom line? And then there's the like relationship based, like the relationships have like ease and space when your client conversations are, how are we going to do this? Not, and what are we going to do at this time, instead of, are we going to do this? What's
Yeah,
it
the
gonna
big
take?
are we? Yeah, the are we is hard. It'd be better about what are we doing as opposed to are we doing this, because
Yeah.
that's, yeah, I get it. Like other, companies have their own challenges and all that kind of thing, but like it would just make things easier for everybody if it was a little bit more predictable, and once again, like we have such a depth of things that we do. It's like once we get in, it's like, why would you ever hire anyone
So
else?
the dream is anytime I think of a business food need, or I'm anticipating a new event in our portfolio, I'm calling you. Like, I know who's doing this. I'm calling you. And that if
Yeah,
I have that on my calendar, it's a no-brainer. We're calling Foxtail, we're booking them out for everything that's on our calendar. And it's the beautiful dream. And I share
a
it
beautiful dream.
for you and for us and others in our position. I think yeah.
Yeah, I mean that would be beautiful. I mean, it would be great because we could say, one, you would trust it. We would, if we said we could do it, then we would do it really well. And if we can't do it, then we would refer you to somebody who could. That'd be the thing.
Right.
That would be the thing, because it's about that trust. Because you get in those places too where, and I mentioned it, sometimes the uh the draw to do more than what you can actually do because you don't know when the next event is going to come in. You have to fight that. I mean, it's a compromise with the team. Like, what can we do? We don't know what's happening next month, but this is all happening this month, so we have to stack this month so that way we can know that we're, I mean, there's it's
You
just
take the little
such.
bird in hand that doesn't look that great because you need to fill the coffers. You need to keep the team busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a thing, but it's cool. I mean, obviously I've been doing it now for 13 years. Wait, 14 years will be when 14 years this August.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's a long time with our own company. And then before that, I actually only did catering for like 10 months before I started my own company. Didn't have a lot of experience, but I was in restaurants before and actually grew up in restaurants. So food is what I've been in my whole life,
Yeah.
as it turns out.
You
So
when I think about the counterpoint, or like the selling point for this trust, is that it's a salve, it's an antidote to stress. Like, when this is an incredibly stressful industry, our clients come to us, and whether they're saying it in the moment or not, they're under a lot of pressure because an event
mhm.
is like a little tiny time capsule that you have to create and have a really big impact in a pretty short period of time, whether that's like a 2-day conference or a 2-hour experience. um, the the trust is the antidote to all that stress that comes with the new project. So it's
Mhm.
when you can deliver that, it's really, really powerful for your clients.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Trust. I mean, you have to understand, like, from like we get it. Like, if you're putting on an event, if you're hiring us as Kennedy and someone's hired you to do your thing, or if it's a client, like a company hiring us directly, it's like, we got to make you look good, you know? Like, you gotta make whoever hired you look good, and we got to make you look good. Like, it's a big trusting thing. And a lot of these things, there's like millions of dollars being spent. And it's not for the whole show, not like our part of it, but for the whole animal. And it's like with catering, like, if you don't have experience working with caterers, or knowing what you want, it's terrifying, because catering can be so many things. Like the things that you see in the movies that are like these huge, big, beautiful galas and all of this and that, like that's what you want, but you hire somebody that brings you cube cheese on a platter, because that's also catering. It's like, it's a pretty scary thing to dip your toe into, so um
There's a
yeah,
lot of
I don't
ways to
know.
like misinterpret. Yeah, because of that, because catering is a word that can conjure such a broad thing, from like the little box I will probably eat on the plane tomorrow, or a platter you pick up at Safeway, uh,
Mhm.
to something that a lot of people will never get to experience, but that is so many, many more things than that.
Yeah, this is why we have so many brands, because that's the thing. Is like, we wanted to try to, like, I was like, look, if we're doing office catering and we're doing events catering, like, what's the likelihood that someone is going to look at their office caterer doing their catering for $20 a person, and they're going to give them a these numbers are arbitrary, but the $200 per person holiday party, these numbers don't exist, by the way, anymore. Add zeros, probably.
Right.
But it's like, because they're both catering, but they're not looking at us the right way. And vice versa. If we're doing a huge event, what's the likelihood that they're going to look at us and say, can you do our in-house meal program, which is a business, that consistent business that we like. That's why we broke those things apart. They have different operations and different marketing, different brands and all that, because they're different. They can feed each other, but they're just different. People's perception of what it is different. So, and that's worked. It's been good.
Well, and you reminded me that like this is the industry, or food service is the industry you grew up in. You come from a family of chefs and restaurateurs, and you, like, as we think about this in the last couple of minutes we have together, I'm curious what keeps you passionate about this work.
Well, there's a couple things. So, and let me clarify. I come from a family of really good home cooks, and my family owned fast food restaurants, which they sell food, but it's a business, so that's
another craft. It makes me think of the Bear, which I'm sure you probably get a lot of people asking you. I imagine that's like too close to home for you to enjoy.
It's nice. It's real though. Like I feel like that show is really good because it gave a pretty good insight into that. It felt real. I have had moments like what that person was having. That was a really good show. So
the effort,
the effort is tremendous, and the desire to hold standards is really something. So to answer your question, like what keeps me going within this, and it's been something that I've been in my whole life in one way or another. First of all, I never really intended to be in food. That's I just kind of like, after high school, I moved to Colorado. I grew up in Kentucky, but we had lived in Colorado for a while, and I'm just going to say, an incredibly talented skier, like state champion skier when I was in like third grade.
Wow.
And so we kept our place in Colorado. So I got to ski like 30 days a year through high school. I'd go to Canada and all this. And when I graduated high school, I went right back to Colorado and was a competitive skier for 4 years and achieved everything I wanted to achieve before I like I didn't get seriously injured. And so that's why I quit. Like, okay, I'm not hurt, did what I want to do. I'm out of here. I went back home and I was like, what the hell how am I going to what's college needs to happen? Like, how am I going to, and I just wound up cooking a big dinner for my family that night. And they were like, maybe you should think about getting into restaurants or going to culinary school. So, but one of my friends was like, if you're going to do that, you should go work in a restaurant first and see if this is interesting. And so I did. And I wound up working on my hometown, Paducah, Kentucky, had this program called the Artist Relocation Program. And basically it's a river town. There's a whole bunch of super cool, like Victorian mansions that are like downtown that had all fallen into disrepair over decades. And so the city bought them all and then sold them to artists from all over the country for $1, and then gave them like low interest loans to rehabilitate them with but the caveat was you had to have it be a working art gallery. So it was sick. It brought all these super cool people in, rehabbed all this stuff. And I wound up working one of those that were there. It was an art gallery, and the husband was an artist, the wife, chef, who I'm still in contact with since just like 20 years later. So I wound up working there, and literally the first night that I worked in there with him on the line, I was like, this doesn't feel like work. This feels incredible. It's just, food's beautiful. Like, I knew nothing about food, really. And it's like, she's a real chef. And it was just awesome. It was like, this doesn't feel like work. This feels awesome. Cause I was like expediting and I was like in charge, which I like being apparently. And
you're probably in a flow state. You're like,
yeah, it was crazy. Plus you're learning about something. With food, you're learning a skill that you can like perfect. And the thing is that never goes away. Like, it never goes away. So for me, it like never goes away. Over the years, working in different restaurants and in starting a business and doing food for 5,000 people, like, things change. But like, at the end of the day, like I don't actually go cook at events very often anymore. I've done it maybe 3 times in the last year, but I went and did this really, really high-end dinner for CEO of a really big tech company. and it was me and 3 other cooks, and it was only for like 12 people. And I was using like this Wagyu that we'd gotten that was like proper, like when I portioned it, it was like cutting through like just a big piece of fat. It was like crazy. But when I was plating and cooking, I was like giddy,
Ah,
I was like a little kid bouncing around, like having a great time putting this beautiful food together, making sure all the staff like got to taste. Cause this Wagyu was like something that, it was like $200 a pound for us, which means in a restaurant, it would be something I can't even begin. It's like something by the ounce, it's something most people never get to experience. And I'm like, have some, like, it's awesome, So,
mhm.
so that like, it just, that like joy, it still just kind of exists, through all of the gnar of building a business up this big and being in food, which is gnarly, but there's just that joy and it's there. And I get it when I cook at home, and that's just what it is.
What a beautiful answer. I think those of us who can really say we're doing what we love are so incredibly fortunate. We can't even imagine, even on the gnarly and the stressful times, what it's like to actually not have that at the center of everything. And so what a great answer. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Thank you.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
That's fantastic.
It definitely, but for those of people out there that like, I'm going to do what I love, there are days when it sucks. Like it sucks,
Yeah.
that's always that. There are highs and lows, it's not beautiful every day.
It's not
Um,
beautiful every day. Well, we
yeah.
should wrap up so that you can go to something beautiful every day, which is your new baby.
Yeah, she's waking up over here.
Congratulations
So
again. Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you. I've been talking with Tommy Halvorson, CEO and founder of, can we say, Fire Society Hospitality Group?
yeah, let's do it.
I know. I think embrace it. It's great. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much, Tommy.
Yeah, thanks, Paige. It's good talking to you.
Good talking to you.
Thanks for listening to the Kennedy Events Podcast. Come back next time and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.